Well, all right, folks, buckle up, because we're diving into the winter of 1861-1862, when Missouri turned into the Civil War's most dysfunctional family reunion. I mean, this slave state stayed Union, but its people, they were split right down the middle, half itching to fight for the Confederacy, and the other half, well, they're ready to swing back. Brothers against brothers, neighbors flipping tables, families probably skipping holiday dinners for like forever. But why the drama? Well, control Missouri and you control the Mississippi and the Missouri rivers, and they're basically the superhighways for invasion north or south. And a Confederate Missouri, well, that's going to open a second front west of the Mississippi, and the whole war flips like a bad pancake. So in the summer of 1861, Confederate Governor Claiborne Jackson and Major General Sterling Price's Missouri State Guard tangle with Union troops at Wilson's Creek on August the 10th. The Rebs pull off the win, but Union General Nathaniel Lyon, well, he gets killed. Price's ragtag outfit, roughly half of them armed with hunting rifles and farm tools, well, they roll through southwest Missouri recruiting, looting, and terrifying loyalists half to death. Sterling Price, old pap to his boys, was a Virginia-born planter turned Missouri politician. He was congressman and the governor of Missouri from 1853 to 1857, and he flipped hard to the Confederacy. No West Point polish with this guy. No, he led the Missouri State Guard like a homegrown militia boss, beloved by his men, but seen by pros as undisciplined. Price's triumph at Wilson's Creek, it fizzles fast. Isolated in Missouri without reinforcements from Arkansas, he's begging for help from Ben McCulloch, who flat out refuses, citing orders to stay in Indian territory and openly calling Price's crew an undisciplined mob. The feud explodes into letters with accusations of cowardice, insults about discipline, just pure pettiness. And with no backup, Price is like, well, if you don't want to come to me, then I'm just going to bring the fight to you. Price retreats south in the fall of 1861, and he's harassed by Union forces, bleeding deserters and battling absolute brutal winter conditions. And I mean so cold, wind sliced like a butcher's knife, carving chunks out of morale while Price watched his army hemorrhage like a drunk with a bad shave. Ben McCulloch was a Texas frontiersman, and he hung out with his neighbor and buddy Davy Crockett. McCulloch would have been at the Alamo, but missed that fateful event thanks to the measles. He was a Texas Ranger, a gold miner, a U.S. Marshal, and McCulloch was a self-made fighter with zero formal military training. He was commissioned Confederate brigadier in 1861, and he saved Price's bacon at Wilson's Creek, but despised babysitting Price and what he called yokels. Union Major General Henry Halleck, also called Old Brains, was the ultimate desk general. He was a West Point class of 1839, an engineer by training, lawyer, and author of Elements of Military Art and Science. That's basically the area's go-to Bible on military theory that just about every officer on both sides had read. He was also a bureaucratic wizard who could organize chaos like nobody's business. A little bit of a prickly personality with zero love for the field. After taking over the mess left by Fremont and the Department of the Missouri, he cleaned house, imposed order, and preferred paperwork to parades. He was the guy who turned a dysfunctional command into something resembling a professional army, even if he rarely left his maps and memos. And it was Halleck who, on Christmas Day 1861, hands command of the Army of the Southwest, roughly 10,500 frostbitten men, to Brigadier General Samuel R. Curtis, and it sets the stage for a grueling winter push south. And Curtis himself, well, he's a West Point engineer, class of 1831, a Mexican war vet, an ex-Iowa congressman, and one of the early Republicans who bailed on politics when the shooting started to grab a bayonet instead. He was a sharp strategist with a strong abolitionist streak, and this dude somehow wrangled a winter campaign out of lousy supplies and weather so vicious it'd make a penguin file for retirement. Franz Siegel, is the Union's German revolutionary heartthrob in early 1861. He's a failed 1848 German revolutionary exile who washed up in America and landed in St. Louis teaching school, only to become the darling of the immigrant crowd with his fiery anti-slavery rants. And when the war exploded, well, he quit teaching to volunteer and turned into Lincoln's favorite ethnic recruiter, sucking in hordes of Germans, chanting the broken English classic, "I goes to fight Miss Siegel," like it's the new national anthem or something. But this dude has a chip the size of the fatherland on his shoulder. Prickly Bastard is convinced every single doubt about his military chops, or total lack thereof, is just jealous anti-German bigotry from native-born snobs who can't handle real European-trained genius. He carried this ego locked and loaded, DiCaprio looks included, primed to either save the Union or prove the haters wrong, or, spectacularly, prove them right. On February the 10th, Curtis marches from Lebanon and catches Price off guard. By the 13th, Springfield falls. Price then bolts south 50 miles in just 36 frigid hours. Curtis pursues, trading small engagements every step along the way. On February the 17th, they cross into Arkansas and they hit the first real resistance at Dunagin's farm. It's the first real scrap in enemy territory. All right, so here's how it all went down. Colonel Louis Hebert, French-born West Pointer, Louisiana planter, and cousin to General P.G.T. Beauregard, he marches his brigade up here to link with Price just south of the border at Little Sugar Creek. It's on the farm of Jasper Dunagin. Yeah, I know. The books call him James, but according to his great-great-grandson, bro's name was Jasper. Hey, family knows best. Anyway, Hebert, ever the bold one, he wanted to dig in and make a stand. Price? Nah. He's in full-blown panic mode, erratically demanding they keep retreating to Cross Hollows near modern Rogers. Hebert sighs, moves his men aside like a polite doorman, and lets Price's ragtag crew shuffle past, then slams the door shut across the Telegraph Road. He basically rolls up his sleeves and says, "Fine, I'll do it myself." He's got the fiery Cajun boys of the 3rd Louisiana Infantry, the 4th and 15th Arkansas Infantry, and Price even detaches Clark's Missouri battery to him for good measure. Hebert makes sure Curtis's scouts can spot his boys standing tall on the bluff. Pure intimidation theater, like, come at us, bro. Around 11 a.m., Curtis's vanguard cross into Arkansas and stroll past Elkhorn Tavern. By 1 p.m., they reach Little Sugar Creek, and they spot rebel troops across the valley, exactly as Hebert had intended. Everyone assumes it's Price finally growing a spine. Curtis rushes to the front like an overeager dad at a Little League game, and poof, the Rebs vanish. Curtis orders artillery to pound their last known spot. Crickets. No reply. So bold as brass, Curtis personally leads the cavalry charge into the valley like he's auditioning for the leading role in some old Western movie. Then he remembers, hey wait, Army commanders aren't supposed to play hero from the front lines. He pulls his reins in and orders the column to advance and re-engage. See, Hebert figured that the bluff position looked so scary that the Yanks would think twice about charging it. He knew Curtis had seen his men, and believing the ploy had worked, he starts pulling back to join Price at Cross Hollows right as Curtis's shells start whistling in. Boom! Hebert's clever feint had become a very expensive fireworks display for the wrong audience. The Federal cavalry had splashed across Little Sugar Creek by this point, so no turning back now. Hebert's stuck fighting where he stands. He deploys like a pro, though. 3 regiments east of the road, Colonel Henry Little's infantry, tough Missourians, to the west. Clark's battery smack in the center, all facing north along the southern edge of Jasper Dunagin's open field. Again, don't mess with genealogy. He scatters his dismounted 1st Missouri Cavalry through the woods 400 yards out front as skirmishers. And when the Federals crest the southern bluff, what do they see? Running Confederates. Classic bait. Colonel Calvin A. Ellis of the 1st Missouri Cavalry doesn't wait for infantry or artillery to arrive. Instead, he gallops ahead like it's a fox hunt. Half-mile in, he trots straight into Hebert's trap. Clark's battery unleashes ball and shell down the Telegraph Road, but it all whizzes over the Federals' heads like angry hornets. Ellis snaps orders. The 1st Missouri Cav off the road to both sides. Major Wright swings his 6th Missouri Cavalry into the woods right, and McConnell takes the 3rd Illinois to the left. But up front, Major James Hubbard's leading battalion of the 1st Missouri Cav, well, they missed the memo. Stuck on the road, they charge full sprint at the Rebs. This spooks a bunch of mounted Confederates out of the woods, fleeing south. Meanwhile, the rest of the Feds push through the woods, swapping shots with Colonel Elijah Gates's 1st Missouri Cavalry. They hit the northern edge of Dunagin's field, spot the full enemy line, and nope out. By 3 p.m., Colonel William Vandiver deploys his brigade into line. Iowans on the right, Missourians on the left, Hayden's battery dead center on the road. A half-mile artillery duel ensues. Boomtown! Curtis then sends Colonel Grenville Dodge's 2nd Brigade hustling up the hill, but by the time they get to the top of the southern bluff, it's over. By 4 p.m., Hebert figures his boys have stalled just long enough, and he disengages like a ghost. Curtis, well, he's not going to chase. He's smart, considering the light's fading and everyone's exhausted. Well, this scrap, it's the first full-on Civil War battle in Arkansas. Feds lose 13 killed, 20 wounded, half of that from Hubbard's reckless sprint. 46 horses were down because, well, nothing says cavalry charge like turning mounts into pincushions. Confederate casualties, well, they're unknown, but Union boys crow about leaving 26 dead rebels on the field. As the smoke clears, Curtis's band belts out Yankee Doodle and the Arkansas Traveler, and troops cheer in the freezing air, breath hanging like fog machines. Curtis wires Halleck, the flag of our Union again floats in Arkansas. You know, of course, in war, nobody ever really agrees on who turned the tide, and if Dunagin's farm proved anything, it was that the campaign was far from over. Just a few weeks later, on March the 6th, both sides would meet again, this time near Bentonville. And this time, it's not going to be an easy victory. And that battle, that's next.